Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Louise Minchin and Ben Thompson.
8 o'clock, our headlines today. Police speak to Prince Philip after he's seen driving without a seatbelt, 48 hours after he was involved in a crash which injured 2 women.
President Trump offers a deal to end the longest government shutdown in US history, but his Democrat opponents reject the plan.
The number of retailers warning of financial difficulties reaches its highest level since the economic crisis of 2008.
In sport, wild celebrations on Merseyside.
Good morning. Another cold day awaits for most of us, but it should be brighter. There should be more sunshine around. However, snow is in the forecast, more so for Monday into Tuesday, but there could be a smattering over the hills in the north as well today. Join me in around 15 minutes for more detail.
Hello, good morning. It's Sunday, the 20th of January. Our main story this morning. Police have spoken to the Duke of Edinburgh after he was photographed driving without a seatbelt on a public road just 2 days after his crash with a car carrying 2 women and a baby.
One of the women has claimed that no one from the royal family has contacted her to offer an apology since the accident on Thursday. Emma Fairweather was left with a broken wrist and told the Sunday Mirror that she's lucky to be alive. Andy Moore reports.
Prince Philip was fortunate to escape with only slight injuries from Thursday's crash near Sandringham. 2 women and a baby were in the other car, a Kia. Emma Fairweather was one of them. She was treated in hospital for a broken wrist. Now she's spoken to the Sunday Mirror, saying that Prince Philip should be prosecuted if found to be at fault. Buckingham Palace said it had been in touch with her to offer good wishes, but Miss Fairweather said she had only heard from a police liaison officer. She told the paper, "I'm lucky to be alive and he hasn't even said sorry. It's been such a traumatic and painful time and I would have expected more of the royal family." Yesterday, Prince Philip was spotted driving a new Land Rover. He was photographed driving without a seatbelt. Norfolk police said suitable words of advice had been given to the driver. Buckingham Palace did not comment. Yesterday morning, the Prince passed a police eyesight test. It's standard procedure after an accident like this. Police say the cause of the crash is still under investigation. Andy Moore, BBC News.
President Trump has offered Democrats a compromise package on immigration in an attempt to end a partial government shutdown.
But some prominent Democrats dismissed his olive branch as unacceptable, as David Willis reports now from Washington.
From the diplomatic reception room of the White House came a distinctly undiplomatic message. America's immigration system is badly broken.
I am here today to break the logjam and provide Congress with a path forward to end the government shutdown and solve the crisis on the southern border.
Amongst a package of measures that he knew would prove irresistible to many Democrats was an offer of temporary relief for around 1 million immigrants threatened with deportation. But then came the quid pro quo. In return for all this, the president is demanding close to $6 billion to build a wall along America's southern border, a project the Democrats hate.
If we build a powerful and fully designed see-through steel barrier on our southern border, the crime rate and drug problem in our country would be quickly and greatly reduced.
Senior Democrats were quick to brand the president's plan a non-starter, and the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi put it thus: what is original in the president's proposal is not good, what is good in the proposal is not original. Adding later, what we didn't hear from the president was any sympathy for the federal workers who face so much uncertainty because of the chaos of the Trump shutdown. Those workers are now taking to charity food banks in growing numbers, and in order to get them back to work, one side or the other in this seemingly intractable dispute has to blink first. David Willis, BBC News, Washington.
An 18-year-old man's been charged with the murder of a boy in East London. 14-year-old Jaden Moody was stabbed to death after being forced off his moped in Leighton earlier this month. The Metropolitan Police is continuing to look for 4 other suspects who fled the scene.
Police are investigating the explosion inside a car outside the courthouse in Londonderry. The blast happened shortly after 8 o'clock last night. Political leaders on all sides have condemned the bombing. No one is thought to have been injured.
The number of major retailers warning of financial difficulties has reached its highest level since the economic crash of 10 years ago.
Yeah, 38% of retailers listed on the stock market issued profit warnings in 2018, a year in which a number of big name brands disappeared from the high street. Here's our business correspondent, Rob Young.
It's been a truly dreadful year for retailers. New Look closed dozens of branches. House of Fraser collapsed into administration and had to be rescued. Maplin has gone out of business. Toys R Us shut down. Even for those stores that managed to survive intact, it's been a year of pain. According to new analysis, 36 retailers issued warnings about their profits in 2018. That's 1 in 3 of all the general retailers listed on the London stock market. And it's the largest proportion since the financial crisis a decade ago.
Retailers probably had one of the toughest years in living memory. There's a number of things that have been going on. We've had weak consumer demand, combined with uncertainty around Brexit, which has really weighed on business confidence and to some extent consumer confidence as well. And as a result, we've seen a high number of businesses go into administration or undertake radical restructuring.
Data suggests we've become more cautious about spending on non-essentials. Shops know this, and so many are offering bigger January discounts than normal in an attempt to get us through their doors. Retailers are braced for a poor 2019. The first few months of the year can be deadly for companies in financial difficulty. It's feared the coming weeks may bring more grim news for the high street. Rob Young, BBC News.
Theresa May is expected to hold a conference call with her cabinet ministers this afternoon as she prepares to outline her next steps to break the Brexit deadlock.
She'll make a statement in the House of Commons tomorrow, while our political correspondent Nick Eardley is in our London newsroom. Nick, there's lots in the Sunday papers about who's talking to who and what's being discussed when, but quite clearly time is running out now, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's only 68 days to go until we're supposed to leave the European Union. Tomorrow the PM will come to Parliament and give some sort of update on what she's going to do next. I wouldn't really expect that to be much of a change of heart. I think it'll be a bit of a holding statement that takes us over the next few days as she tries to continue talks with other parties to see if there's anything she can do to win their support for a Brexit deal. There are some in Parliament, though, that are really worried about the idea that there isn't going to be an end to the logjam. So they're working on plans to try and stop the UK leaving the EU without a deal in place on our future relationship on the 29th of March, which is written into law at the moment. One of those plans would rule out the idea of a no-deal Brexit and mean if we were getting near to that stage that Parliament would be able to say to the government, go back to Brussels and try and get a bit more time for some more negotiations. Another one of those plans would basically pause the process fairly soon and say we need more time to work it out. But as you say, Ben, clock is ticking. There is very little sign at the moment that a breakthrough is imminent, so some people are starting to think Parliament needs to take control of this.
Nick, for now, thanks very much, Nick Eardley there.
It's just coming up to 8:10. We're hearing from French media that 2 people have been killed, 4 seriously injured in a fire at the ski resort of Courchevel. The local news is reporting that some Brazilian seasonal workers are among those caught up in the fire. We're still trying to verify more details, which are still coming in, and we'll update you if we can before the end of the programme.
Rescue teams searching for a 2-year-old boy who fell down a well in southern Spain have begun drilling in an effort to reach him. Julian Matteo, whose parents say he fell down the 300-foot drop in Malaga last Sunday and hasn't been heard from since. Miners are now drilling a tunnel next to the well that's wide enough to allow rescuers to be lowered down.
The ashes of 6 unidentified victims of the Holocaust are to be laid to rest this morning. They've been in storage at the Imperial War Museum for 20 years and will be interred at a Jewish cemetery in Hertfordshire.
This is the very first time that here in the UK we're going to be staging such an event. Some 75 years after 6 people were stripped of their dignity, murdered in the cruelest possible fashion, their bodies cremated, now we will have an opportunity to accord them some dignity and to give them a final resting place.
Astronomers are eagerly awaiting a total lunar eclipse or blood moon in the early hours of tomorrow morning. So, if you're awake, take a look in the sky around 4:30 in the morning. You'll be able to see the eclipse if the weather allows it. When the moon, the earth and the sun will all line up for more than an hour. It means you'll get amazing sights like this. The next time a similar event will take place is in December of 2029, so it might be worth setting the alarm.
It might be, mightn't it? And it's obviously subconsciously, I woke up this morning and thought, I must wear a dress that illustrates this.
The
I should really have worn it tomorrow, shouldn't I?
I think it's particularly appropriate for today.
I know, it must have
With a
literally gone
live
into my head.
demonstration of what the eclipse will look like.
Contrary to what everybody thinks, we buy our own clothes, choose our own clothes, so it was entirely my own decision.
Yeah, and entirely accidental.
Accidental.
That you're wearing your lunar eclipse outfit.
Yep. Anyway, never knew it was. I'll wear it in 2029.
Yeah. The gift that keeps on giving.
It's now 12 minutes past 8. Well, you're watching Breakfast. Very good morning to you. So, Toys R Us, House of Fraser, Maplin, just some of the big high street names to have found themselves in financial trouble last year.
Yeah, now it's emerged the number of retailers warning of potential problems has reached its highest level since 2008. That, of course, was the year of the big financial crash. So why? What does it tell us about the state of our economy? Retail expert Claire Bailey is with us. Claire, good morning. Why now?
Well, unlike 2008, it's a very different set of circumstances, but it's created a very similar set of problems for the retailers. It's a bit of a perfect storm, really. Consumer confidence has been falling. Unfortunately, it's got a lot to do with political uncertainty. And what will things look like after March the 29th? People are worrying about their grocery shop, will that increase in price, house prices, job security, and that constrains their ability to feel confident to go out and spend money, which of course has a knock-on effect on retailers. They either receive less sales or consumers will only buy if they feel that they're getting a bargain, so they have to discount quite heavily, which erodes their profits. On the flip side, they're also facing increasing costs. We've seen rises to business rates, upward-only rent reviews, of course the impact of minimum and living wage on those people who are employing at the very lower end of their salary spectrum, and the currency impact has meant that their buying power from international sources in dollars and euros, of course, has been constrained. So we've got rising costs and reducing sales and lower margin sales all coming together to impact profit. So even those who are actually doing quite well are seeing profit reduction forecasts, which is unfortunate for shareholders.
Obviously, we've seen some big names in trouble. Toys R Us and the others are examples. But big retailers, small retailers, it's all the same problem, is it?
Yes, online and physical as well.
Right.
So we've seen warnings coming out of ASOS, which is quite uncommon. I mean, typically we hear, oh, you know, it's all about online and that's growing and so on. Actually, it's relatively stable. It represents around 20% of all retail sales. And of course, most of the large high street names that we talk about have a strong online proposition. So no one is really immune to this. Their buying power is constrained and our consumer spending power is being held back. Not necessarily constrained. It doesn't mean we necessarily feel we have less money. We're just less inclined to spend it so readily in the face of the backdrop of uncertainty. But it certainly is feeling a lot like 2008 in the context of what's coming out from the retailers, although the backdrop is obviously very different.
Some would say retailers have just got to up their game, though. Because we're used to stuff being cheaper, we're used to it being on sale. You know, our psychology has changed where we don't want to buy stuff that's full price because we expect it's going to be on sale in a couple of weeks. The retailers just got to work a bit harder to get us to spend.
Well, also, they've created that problem for themselves, remember, in that they've realised that if we're sort of playing that game with them, we're not spending unless it's discounted, so they have to discount. So we end up with this vicious circle going on. Certainly, we've seen that in the run-up to Christmas. So many discounts where it used to be Boxing Day was the first day things would go into sale. And yes, of course, they do have to up their game, and there is a competitiveness between all providers of products and services for what we will call share of wallet. But if I've spent my money in taking my family out for a meal, I can't go and therefore buy something for the house. And it's that competitiveness not just between similar retailers, but between all those consumer-facing businesses for our limited amount of disposable income. But of course, the ones who do the best in terms of offering great products, great prices and great experiences are likely to come out best profiting.
Yeah, OK, well, thank you very much for coming to see us. Thank you.
This is here, Claire. Thanks very much. What's the weather doing outside? We know it's cold, but where and how cold? Helen's got the details for us this morning. Hi, Helen.
Hi Ben, hi Louise. Good morning to you. This is how cold it is outside in Cambridgeshire, -5 degrees Celsius. This came in around about half an hour ago, that ice on the pond there. And so it is a cold start in many parts of the country, but some are much colder than others. East Anglia, the southeast and eastern and southern Scotland have got the lowest temperatures this morning. We do still have a lot of cloud elsewhere. We do have another weather front coming into the northwest, so it's not a straightforward crisp and sunny start. This weather front is already starting to show signs of weakening, but it's giving snow as it comes across into the Scottish mountains and across the Sperrins, across Northern Ireland and the Moor Mountains as well here. But it will drift through, it will weaken, and already we've got the brighter skies coming into the Western Isles with a few wintry showers as well, because we're replacing cold air for probably even colder air actually through the day ahead. That comes into Northern Ireland as we head towards lunchtime. I think for Antrim and down, the rain holds on till lunchtime, clears away ahead of it. There's a little bit of mist and freezing fog around, and there's still quite a bit of cloud across Wales and the southwest, the Midlands, West Midlands that is. And we've got this line of showers that just keeps feeding in, and it'll be joined by that weakening weather front this afternoon. So complications, if you like, to the dry story, but lots of dry and sunny weather across southern and eastern areas and following our weather front in the north. It's just that sandwich in between where we've got the cloudier skies, the potential for some patchy rain and hill snow as well. Now, overnight tonight, it does clear temporarily in the north and it stays clear in the south and the east, so good for the lunar eclipse here. But actually, even though it stays pretty cold towards morning in much of the northern half of the country, a colder night, we will have the onset of much thicker high cloud. Doesn't really arrest the fall in the temperatures, but what it does do is obscure our skies. So again, it's one to watch, given that we have got that event taking place, the lunar event taking place tonight. Onto the weather tomorrow, though, because it is going to be quite instrumental for the weather this week. Quite an active day or quite an active evening. It's actually quite benign through the day, a little bit of morning mist and fog with the frost risk. And then through the afternoon for Northern Ireland, it turns wetter. Again, that turns to snow on the mountains, as it does readily into Scotland. Because we're still in this cold air, we're only looking at 5 to 6 degrees. Then tomorrow evening, that then makes its way across the rest of Scotland, across northern England and Wales, and clears out the way. So we will see a spell of snow, strong winds blowing it around as it goes through tomorrow evening, and then finally clears from the south and east in the morning. Could be some winteriness even further south as well, and at lower levels temporarily, but it's unlikely to settle except, for example, the Peak District, the Pennines and up into the Scottish mountains. But even for Tuesday, it's cold, even behind that weather system, 3 or 4 degrees, and those showers coming in behind as well will be of sleet and snow. So you get the idea. It's cold, but at least there's some crisp sunshine. Probably preferable, I think, to the cloudy, dank, mild sort of weather at this time of year. The other option.
Do you know, I am with you on that, at least. Thank you very much, Helen. I've never seen anyone so excited about the cold, but it's nice. It's enthused me.
Pretty clear that it's going to be cold from Helen then.
Are you watching Breakfast from BBC News? It's 19 minutes past 8. Let's go to Andrew Marr and see what he's got in his programme.
Well, one question, as ever in politics. What now? You'll have seen from the papers lots and lots of talk about plots in the House of Commons. I'm joined by 3 senior backbenchers to talk about that, by Dominic Raab, the former Brexit Secretary, Hilary Benn, leading Labour MP, and Anna Soubry, the leading Tory Remainer. And then I'll be talking to Labour's Sir Keir Starmer, who leads their Brexit negotiations, and to Liam Fox, the International Trade Secretary, a leading cabinet Brexiteer. A lot to talk about. Can they start to agree amongst themselves? Watch us at 10 o'clock.
Well, that is a very good question, Andrew, that we all want to know the answer. Thank you very much.
And of course, that dominates all of the newspapers. We're going to have a look at what's on the front of them at just 20 past 8. Good morning.
So we have with us a politics lecturer, very appropriately, thank you very much, Victoria Honeyman, to tell us what's caught her eye. But first of all, we're going to have a look at the front pages this morning. You might not have had time to go out in the cold and have a look yet. The Mirror has the exclusive interview with Emma Fairweather. She was a passenger in the other car involved in the collision with the Duke of Edinburgh, and she's been telling the paper the Prince hasn't apologised for the crash.
Well, the Telegraph has an article from International Trade Secretary Liam Fox warning that failing to deliver on the 2016 referendum would open up what he called a yawning gap between voters and Parliament. Also on the front there, a picture of Prince Philip out driving yesterday afternoon in his new car.
The Observer reports that John Bercow is considering abandoning plans to step down as Commons Speaker after Cabinet Ministers threatened to deny him a peerage. It had been previously reported that Mr Bercow was planning to quit as Speaker in the summer.
And the Mail on Sunday's front page, also about that crash involving Prince Philip. It says he's received a ticking off by Norfolk police after being photographed not wearing his seatbelt just 2 days after the accident. A Norfolk police spokesman said suitable words of advice have been given to the driver.
So it's 21 minutes past 8, Victoria. So much in the papers, as ever, about Brexit. And again, you know, so much has happened, but this is at the heart of the issue, isn't it?
Yes.
Theresa May and the Conservative Party, and, you know, the real differences.
It's relentless in the papers. There's literally nothing else. The article in the Times really lays out the idea that Theresa May is battling against everybody else. It isn't the government versus MPs, this isn't the government versus the Commons, it's the government versus everybody, because everybody has all of these different ideas as to what would be the preferred option. And they lay out at the bottom 5 different paths through the Brexit maze, and they give a probability as to what is most likely. Interestingly, they say that the idea of a customs union, which is being suggested by many, particularly certain members of the Conservative Party, and also members of the Labour Party, incidentally, 20% probability. Even the most likely option, in their opinion, which is the PM's deal, is 40%. We're not talking high probabilities here. Everybody is in disagreement with each other. It's absolute chaos.
And this, I mean, we've said this so many times before, you know, the clock is ticking. It is March the 29th, and something must happen before then.
Quite honestly, it's difficult to see how on earth the government can actually get the required legislation through in order for the 29th of March to be dealt with. Be under no illusions, a no deal is not business as usual. It's not we leave and then, you know, we pick up. It will affect every single aspect of our lives that impacts on us internationally with anything to do with Europe, and that is enormous. So realistically, the idea of, you know, well, we'll just no deal and then we'll see how it goes, that's going to have a really big impact on people's jobs, people's ability to buy products in the shop, all of those kind of things. It's a dangerous game to play.
You've got some people, of course, campaigning for that, saying that that is their preferred option.
It seems like it's a very popular option. I noticed that there was a cheer for it on Question Time.
Right.
The WTO rules, there isn't another country in the world that trades exclusively on WTO rules. This is a very, very dangerous game to play.
When you're lecturing in politics, I guess you get lots of questions about this, and this is going to be one of the most fascinating periods in history to look back on. I know we're living right through it now, but as you know, given your job, and this is interesting in the Mirror, isn't it? Because this starts to sort of suggest or look at options for what happens next in terms of, you know, the politics and the people involved. I mean, here, clearly, they say that in their latest poll, 54% would support Remain, but they also look at who would replace the Prime Minister.
It's very difficult when you're in the middle of something like this to see how you're going to resolve it, how it's going to play out, but eventually it will end in some way. It's difficult to see what the end point is going to be. So there you have a list of individuals who may or may not be the next leader of the Conservative Party. I don't think there's any massive surprises there. I suppose you could argue that Jacob Rees-Mogg is perhaps an unlikely choice, considering that he's never held a cabinet position. But then again, you know, Tony Blair had never held a cabinet position before he became Prime Minister. It does happen. But, you know, the Conservative Party's got big problems on its hands, as does the Labour Party.
Let's just briefly talk about that, because we're going to run out of time. This is from The Observer. It's about young people. And actually, you're from Leeds, aren't you? So it's talking about students in Leeds and their point of view.
Leeds was a city which voted Remain, but on a very, very slim majority. And here, this is an article which essentially says the Labour Party have made great strides in the last few years, particularly under Corbyn, to appeal to young voters who look to Corbyn as being different to other politicians. And here they're talking to students and young people in Leeds who are saying, well, yeah, we do back Corbyn, but actually the problem is that we can't get a hold of anything in terms of Brexit policy. We don't know what the Brexit policy of the Labour Party is, and the article suggests that that's turning people off from Corbyn, that people are actually leaving the Labour Party or threatening to leave the Labour Party and perhaps thinking of other parties that they might vote for because of that level of uncertainty, particularly amongst young people.
Thank you very much indeed, and just to cheer us up, everybody, tomorrow could be the worst day of the year. It's Blue Monday, apparently. It's lots to do with the average time it takes for New Year's resolutions to fall to the weather, debt and time since Christmas and motivational levels.
I'm so pleased to be the bringer of such happiness.
Aren't you? Thank you.
Thought. Thanks, Victoria. That's it for viewers here on BBC One. We'll be on the BBC News channel until 9 o'clock, so stay with us until then. We'll see you very soon.
Yeah. And if you have turned over, welcome.
Hi. Welcome back.
8:26, it's still breakfast.
We're still here till 9 o'clock. Lots more still to come on the programme, including news that all around the world, scientists are looking for the latest medical breakthroughs to help beat all sorts of things, but including cancers, other diseases.
It's often with the help of the very latest technology that researchers make great progress, as our science correspondent Richard Westcott has been finding out in Cambridge.
This Nobel Prize-winning machine is revolutionising healthcare. To treat a disease, it helps to actually see the part that's going wrong. And that's where a cryo-EM microscope comes in.
So if you image it lots of different ways, from lots of different angles, you can build up a 3D model, is that?
That's right.
By flash freezing the samples, it can take images that weren't possible before. And it's quicker too.
So what would have previously taken decades to get a single snapshot of the functioning ribosome can now be done in potentially months or even weeks.
This microscope at Diamond Light Source is looking at a sample from a sick patient so scientists can see his ribosomes. They're the tiny nanomachines that help build our bodies. But this one's breaking down on the job.
So you've got close, closer and closer still, yes?
Yes.
I know this is a bit fuzzy, but how about this? The final 3D image of the ribosome, complete with troublesome yellow lump, a protein that's meant to break off but gets stuck, causing a rare but dangerous condition called Schwartzman-Diamond syndrome.
It's exciting we have these new technologies, the new microscope facility.
In his Cambridge lab, Professor Alan Warren is using the pictures to find a drug treatment. Like testing keys for a lock, it's about matching up the shapes.
So you literally need to zoom into here and see the shape that you're trying to find. You're looking for a drug to fit that shape effectively.
Correct. So the idea is that we could find a drug which might sit at the interface between this protein and the rest of the ribosome. So we want to find something that will get into the groove and knock off this protein from the surface of the ribosome.
I think it's so interesting with all the modern technology that actually a human being looking at the shape of the molecules is still really critical to your work.
I think that's absolutely true.
You have 10 million trillion little ribosome machines in your body. When they break down, they've been linked to several cancers. Looking at their shape should mean scientists can find drugs that can help. Richard Westcott, BBC News, Cambridge.
You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. We're going to have all the headlines for you at
Plus
half
sport,
past.
plus
and
weather.
Sport, and everything.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be talking about the moon as well. Stay with us.
What more do you need?
Yes.
See you shortly.
Headlines shortly.
Who was the greatest person of the 20th century? 100 years in which everything changed.
We have a liftoff.
These were trailblazers.
Pushing the boundaries.
Experts have drawn up a shortlist of remarkable individuals that changed every aspect of our lives.
What an astonishing human being.
It's up to you to decide who is the greatest of them all.
Icons continues tomorrow at 9 on BBC Two.
Welcome. Oh. The sewing bee's back. We've got a brand new host.
And why do you think it's called a wiggle dress?
I can't stress this enough. It needs to go on the model.
Having a bit of difficulties with the zip?
Doesn't want to be too baggy. Nobody wants a baggy bottom.
We have never seen 10 sewers as good as this lot.
The Great British Sewing Bee returns with the one and only Joe Lycett. Coming soon to BBC Two and BBC iPlayer.
Hello, good morning to you. This is Breakfast with Louise Minchin and Ben Thompson.
8:30 exactly at the summary of this morning's main news. Police have spoken to the Duke of Edinburgh after he was photographed driving without a seatbelt on a public road just 2 days after his crash with a car carrying 2 women and a baby.
Well, one of the women has claimed that no one from the royal family has contacted her to offer an apology since the accident on Thursday. Emma Fairweather was left with a broken wrist, and she told the Sunday Mirror newspaper that she's lucky to be alive.
Senior Democrats have described President Trump's attempt to end the long-running government shutdown as a non-starter. The US president had offered to temporarily protect 1 million immigrants from deportation if Congress agreed to fund a wall along the Mexican border. The shutdown is now in its 5th week and is the longest in American history.
An 18-year-old man has been charged with the murder of a boy in East London. 14-year-old Jaden Moody was stabbed to death after being forced off his moped in Leighton earlier this month. The Metropolitan Police is continuing to look for 4 other suspects who fled the scene.
Police investigating an explosion inside a car outside the courthouse in Londonderry. The blast happened shortly after 8 o'clock last night. Political leaders on all sides have condemned the bombing. No one is thought to have been injured.
The number of major retailers warning of financial difficulties has reached its highest level since the economic crisis 10 years ago. 38% issued profit warnings in 2018, with Toys R Us, Maplin and New Look just some of the big high street names to have closed stores or collapsed entirely. Business analysts say less demand from consumers and uncertainty over Brexit are likely to be contributing factors.
2 patients have died after contracting a fungal infection caused by pigeon droppings at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde has launched an investigation, with the room at Queen Elizabeth University Hospital thought to contain machinery being identified as the possible source.
Theresa May is expected to hold a conference call with her cabinet ministers this afternoon as she prepares to outline her next steps to break the Brexit deadlock. That comes ahead of a statement by the Prime Minister in the House of Commons tomorrow. It's understood that Mrs May will continue discussions with MPs, as well as businesses and union leaders, over the next few days.
2 people have been killed, 4 have been seriously injured in a fire at the ski resort of Courchevel. It's reported those caught up were seasonal workers. The cause of the blaze is not yet known, but it is believed to be under control.
Rescue teams searching for a 2-year-old boy who fell down a well in southern Spain have begun drilling in an effort to reach him. Julian Mateo's parents say he fell down the 300-foot drop in Malaga last Sunday and hasn't been heard from since. Miners are now drilling a tunnel next to the well that's wide enough to allow rescuers to be lowered down.
Tsunami warnings have been lifted after a 6.7 magnitude earthquake hit the coast of northern Chile last night. Hundreds of thousands of homes have been left without power, and tremors were felt 250 miles away in the capital, Santiago. The country is located on the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, where earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are common.
Now, it was a tweet that prompted a pretty fiery response. This is it. Hannah Summers revealed her 4-year-old daughter Esme had told her that she wanted to be a boy so that she could be a firefighter, because the books that she reads only included firemen.
Hello, I'm Carrie, I'm a firefighter and I'm a girl.
Hi Esme. Hi Esme.
Hi Esme, my name's Samantha, I'm a girl and we're all firefighters. Hi Esme, we're firefighters and we're girls.
Well, a female crews from all over the world then posted a string of pictures, as you can see, and videos to prove that women firefighters do exist. Later, Esme's mum put up another post saying Esme firmly believes she can be a firefighter.
Kind of a cool way to prove that, isn't it?
It's lovely. What a lovely story. So it's at 8:34 and it was a busy night of goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, lots of goals in the Premier League, Louise. Liverpool winning 4-3 against Crystal Palace. You can see Jurgen Klopp there giving the full-on Klopp fist bump.
He really, I mean, that was quite a celebration.
Oh, absolutely. But you can understand it, you know. It was pretty nervy. Crystal Palace made it 2-2, but Liverpool did just enough to win. 7 points clear now at the top of the Premier League after what was a really testing encounter against Palace. The Londoners, you might remember, beat champions Manchester City, who play later today, and came very close to upsetting Liverpool as well. Here's Nick Parrott with that and the best of yesterday's other action.
Against the run of play, but thrilling going forward as Mo Salah equalised. Ending their 29-year title drought isn't going to be easy, though.
Obviously, because we knew for different reasons the game will be difficult. The result is massive. We have 60 points now. It's crazy. That's a bottom number.
4 or 5-0 every time and play fantasy football. At times we did. I think there was some fantastic football at times, and delighted with 3 points.
Diogo Jota's hat-trick gave Wolves a 4-3 win over Leicester, making the Foxes' boss Claude Puel the bookies' favourite to be the next manager to leave his post. While the pressure eased on Rafa Benitez as his Newcastle side moved out of the relegation zone at the expense of fellow strugglers Cardiff.
Well, second place Manchester City can close the gap at the top to 4 points today if they win at bottom club Huddersfield Town. Mark Hudson is in caretaker charge of the Yorkshire side after the club parted company with David Wagner. And City boss Pep Guardiola says his side cannot underestimate Huddersfield or focus too much on Liverpool.
Forget the table, forget the schedules. Focus Huddersfield now. In weather conditions will be freezing, and every time we play against them, especially there in the cup, first season, last season, when we won in the lately minutes, so always have been and will be complicated. So focus on what you have to do.
It's the Scottish Cup fourth round weekend. There was an extraordinary upset as well, where the semi-professional team Auchinleck Talbot knocked out Championship Club A United. The only goal of the game was scored by law student Craig McCracken and helped the junior club humiliate their local rivals to win a first win over senior opposition.
Brilliant, obviously. A lot of some of the pundits before the game were writing us off completely, but the fans believed and so did the boys, and we've managed to have a wee upset on the day, so different class.
And being an air boy yourself, you used to play for them, was the goal even more sweet?
Aye, also that makes it a bit more sweeter, but I left on good terms, so it's not as if I left on bad terms, but it obviously does make it a bit sweeter.
Great stuff. The holders Celtic are safely through to the fifth round after a 3-0 victory over Airdrie. 2 goals from Scott Sinclair. Either side of the break put Brendan Rodgers' side in control before Timothy Weah, son of former AC Milan legend George, added a third in the final 10 minutes, giving them a convincing win. Wimbledon champion Angelique Kerber is out of the Australian Open after suffering a stunning defeat in the fourth round. She was beaten in straight sets 6-love, 6-2 by the world number 35, Danielle Collins. The American, who's making her debut in Melbourne this year, took just 56 minutes to defeat Kerber. Rafael Nadal is through to the quarter-finals after beating Thomas Berdych in 3 sets. The number 2 seed won a third set tiebreak and has not dropped a set in the tournament so far. He'll face Francis Tiafoe, who advanced with a win over Grigor Dimitrov. You can listen to coverage right now of Roger Federer's fourth-round match from Melbourne with Tennis Breakfast on Radio 5 Live Sports Extra. Rugby Union now. Munster claimed a narrow win to eliminate Exeter and confirm their place in the European Champions Cup quarter-finals. Exeter had a point lead at half-time, but the visitors couldn't open up the 7-point winning margin they needed to progress. Instead, Joey Carberry's kicking ensured a 12th straight European home win for Munster. Ulster produced a second-half comeback, coming from 13-0 down to defeat Leicester 14-13 to book their place in the quarter-finals for the first time since 2014. Robert Balogun with a decisive try. Leicester finish a disappointing European campaign with just 1 win. England captain Owen Farrell has had a minor procedure on a thumb injury, but his club insists it isn't serious. Farrell missed Saracens' 38-19 win over Glasgow yesterday, which secured them a home Champions Cup quarter-final. The club says he'll need a little over a week to recover, and he will be fit for England's opening Six Nations match against Ireland on the 2nd of February. One man who'll certainly be relieved that Farrell's injury isn't serious is Eddie Jones, of course, and ahead of that huge game in Dublin, the England head coach has been stoking up the rivalry with Ireland, claiming again that fly-half Johnny Sexton gets preferential treatment from officials. Jones said Sexton has the bat phone to the referee. When he talks, the referee listens. In netball's quad series, England lost 48-45 to South Africa in their second match at London's Copper Box Arena. The Roses started well, led early on, but South Africa dominated the second and third quarters. England edged ahead again in the fourth period, but South Africa clung on for victory. Tracy Neville's side take on Australia in the final match this evening. Good luck to them. Ronnie O'Sullivan will play Judd Trump in the final of the Masters Snooker at Alexandra Palace today. O'Sullivan was 4-0 up in his semi-final against Ding Junhui before Ding won the next 3 frames, but the 7-time Masters champion recovered to win the match.
I wouldn't have been disappointed if I'd have lost, because I loved that guy so much, you know, and I would have really been happy to see him competing in a final. You know, he wouldn't have done. He wanted to nail everyone to the ground, you know. But I'm a little bit different like that, you know. I just enjoy playing. I enjoy competing, enjoy the occasion. But I've been so happy for Ding, you know, because he's a special guy, special talent.
Ireland's Shane Lowry kept his nerve to clinch a one-shot victory over nearest rival Richard Stern of South Africa in the Abu Dhabi Championship. It was the 31-year-old's first title win in 3.5 years. Lowry's closing 71 saw him finish on 18 on the par, with Stern a shot further back. Now, horse racing is rarely predictable, is it? That is, except when there's a horse called Altior in the race. You may well know about Altior. He's one of racing's most exciting horses, and yesterday won for the 17th time in a row. His jockey, Nico de Boinville, only had to beat 2 others in the Clarence House Chase at Ascot after Altior had scared off most of his rivals with his incredible unbeaten record over jumps. Absolutely astonishing horse, Altior. Just to go back, though, to Eddie Jones.
I love that image.
He likes to stoke it up, doesn't he? He really does. He's playing the mind games already.
Johnny Sexton on the bat phone.
On the bat phone, yes, exactly. He said this before. Yeah. I mean, Johnny Sexton is clearly, you know, World Player of the Year and so on. He's a very influential player, Ireland's key player. Eddie Jones knows that. He's just sort of, you feel, getting into the minds of the officials, maybe, isn't he? Just ahead of what is a huge game for England against Ireland. All kicks off, Ireland number 2 in the world at the moment. Wales are 3rd in the world. They will kick it off against France on the 1st of February, on the Friday. Yep. That's when it gets going.
How exciting.
Fascinating.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you.
Thank
you. 8:43, so after a crushing defeat for the Prime Minister's Brexit deal and the drama of a vote of no confidence in the government, what will happen next at Westminster?
Well, the SNP say that if the Brexit deadlock is to be broken, Theresa May needs to fundamentally change her position.
Well, the party's Foreign Affairs spokesman is Stephen Gethins. He's in our Dundee studio this morning. Morning to you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Good morning.
And it's interesting, looking at the papers this morning, we saw this procession of MPs all involved in discussions with the government. Also, the SNP very much a part of that. Just can you give us a sense of how these discussions are going?
Sure. Well, I think what's important is we have to remember is that we're in a parliament of minorities. That's something that's quite common in other European legislators and is common in other parts of the United Kingdom, such as the Scottish Parliament. And Westminster's got this culture of the majority parliament, the majority party sort of ramming through whatever legislation it likes. And we're not in that situation. We need to speak to each other. So I think everybody knows the seriousness of the situation in which we've been left, the need to find some kind of way through this. That's been apparent for a long time now, and I hope that the Prime Minister is genuine when she says that she's open to negotiations, because she's had a good 2.5 years now. So that's something that we really need to focus in on, and that'll continue tomorrow morning when we go back to Westminster.
Oh, are you part of those discussions tomorrow as well?
Absolutely. Look, this is something I've been doing for 2.5 years now, which is speaking to colleagues in other political parties, trying to find common ground. I mean, I know, we've a huge amount, the SNP, for example, are working closely with the Liberal Democrats, obviously, the Green Party, Plaid Cymru, but also a large number of members of the Labour Party and a number of Conservatives who share our views. And I think that's the right thing to do. And if I can say so, the SNP, I think, is reasonably well placed on that, given that it currently leads a minority government in Scotland that's managing to pass legislation, and did so in between 2007 and 2011, when we had 47 MSPs out of 129, and yet we're able to lead some very groundbreaking legislation around climate change, education and other areas. It can be done. It can be done.
I'm also interested as well, because of course Scotland voted to remain and the country did not. So what does the SNP want then?
Well, over 2 years ago, the Scottish Government set out a compromise option. One thing that we did, I wish the UK Government have done, was that the First Minister put together experts, former European Court of Justice judge, colleagues in other political parties who'd sat in the European Parliament, academics and others, and came up with a compromise solution to stay in the single market in the customs union. That was over 2 years ago now. So our preference at the moment is to have that second referendum, a people's vote on whatever the final deal is, so that people actually get the say on it. But the immediate...
What would they get to say on, though? Can we just kind of drill down on that? What, according to what you want, would they get to say on?
Well, it'd have to be remain. I mean, that's my personal and the SNP want to remain in the European Union. And the alternative, hold on, and the alternative would have to be put down by those who are proposing that alternative. Now, one of the problems with the situation that we're in just now is that those who campaigned Vote Leave, including senior Tory ministers in government, didn't have the responsibility to actually lay out what leaving the EU meant. What did it mean for customs, food and drink? What did it mean for research institutions? That's something that's really important in this part of Scotland, is the European research money that is used in medicine and chemistry and other areas as well. So it's really important that they put down the details around that they didn't do before.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So just to be clear,
Sure.
with regard to another referendum, are you talking about a rerun of the same questions then?
Well, I think Remain has to be on the table, but what I'm saying is it's not for me to define my opponent's preferred choices. I think they need to do the responsible thing and start defining what it is they want. Scotland voted to Remain. My constituency voted to Remain, as did every other counting area in Scotland as well. But what we want to see is a little bit of responsibility from others and set out an alternative. But immediately, and look, we're really counting down the days at the moment. I think we need to suspend this Article 50 process, give it a bit of time. There's no point in just crashing out the other side and what we know will be damaging to business, damaging to the NHS, damaging to future opportunities for our young people.
Let's just talk about what you're asking for, and you're saying, what, an extension to Article 50. Again, time is running out to even do that, isn't it?
No, it's not. I mean, time doesn't run out to put a halt on the Article 50 process until 10:59 p.m. on the 29th of March. And as a court case recently made clear, the UK Parliament, which, remember, maintains its sovereignty, always had maintained its sovereignty, can put a stop to that. Holyrood doesn't have sovereignty. The European Parliament doesn't have sovereignty. The UK Parliament does have sovereignty. And as was made clear, that can be put to a halt immediately if the UK Parliament has a willingness to do so, which is why I'm working with colleagues in other political parties to make that happen just now.
Stephen Gethins, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing the results of those conversations next week. Thank you.
Let's get a final look at what the weather is doing this morning. Helen's got the details. It's a bit chilly out there.
It is, Ben. It is, Louise. Good morning to you. But there's nothing we can do about it. It's staying cold all week. But given some sunshine, I think that will be the payoff. This was taken just a little while ago in Cambridgeshire. That's how cold it is. -5, -6 out there this morning in a few localities, eastern England and parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, we've just got rather more cloud. We've got another weather front with us today. This one coming into the northwest, but it won't bring a lot of rain. It's butting into this area of high pressure, so that means it weakens all the time. You can see that for yourself. We've got some showers as well across Pembrokeshire and Cornwall, but this weather system in the north is already starting to weaken. Brighter skies are already coming into the Western Isles. There are some snow showers around here, though, to come as well. And there will be snow on the hills with this weather front too. But once it clears through this afternoon, sunnier skies should follow to many parts of Scotland and also many parts of Northern Ireland. In contrast, we've got quite a lot of clouds still from yesterday's weather system across England and Wales. And that weather front this afternoon will come into Northern England, into Wales, joining those showers we have in the west and giving us some hill snow as well. So there's a lot more cloud around in the skies for England and Wales, except the East Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, where it should stay quite sunny for much of the day and dry, but not particularly warm. Temperatures are below average and will remain below average for much of the week. Through this evening and overnight, we do clear that cloud away quite rapidly. What's left of it, Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperatures will drop like a stone. A fairly widespread and sharp frost here and also across southern and eastern areas. But again, where we've got that weak weather front and it's not producing much rain or hill snow by that stage, but temperatures hold just above freezing. But look at this, really quite bitter in the north. Of course, it's the lunar eclipse tonight, but unfortunately, it looks as if we'll see a lot of high cloud obscuring the skies across the northern half of the country. So that's the downside. Southern eastern areas may stay largely clear. But this is the reason for the sky obscured in the north, this developing area of low pressure and its attendant weather fronts, much more active than the ones we've seen so far this weekend. And actually, for the most part, tomorrow it's quite benign. Again, freezing fog, widespread frost first thing in the morning, then some breaks in the cloud, a little bit of sunshine, lot of cloud. But then this comes in, bringing that rain initially to Northern Ireland, snow on the hills of Scotland. And because it's inherently cold air, and then it's going to come across the rest of Scotland, England and Wales as we go into the evening, it will turn readily to snow. We're talking several centimetres falling over the hills, but there'll be a smattering at lower levels as well. And we could see some winteriness further south. It's unlikely to settle here, but it's certainly cold enough. We will wake up to several centimetres, though, further north on the hills in particular. And the air's cold, or as cold, if not colder behind. So the showers that follow will fall as sleet and snow as well. But there will be some sunshine between. But as I say, the main risk of snow, if you like, is through tomorrow evening and overnight. Lou and Ben, back to you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Helen.
Yep, you have a lovely day as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that lunar eclipse in just a moment, actually. So, and Helen telling us there it might be a little bit too cloudy in some parts, the northern parts of the country, to be able to see it.
Be
We'll talk about
disappointing,
that
wouldn't
a
it?
bit later.
The black rhino is the smaller of the African rhinos and is a critically endangered species. So it's important for their future that they get help with breeding programmes from places like the Yorkshire Wildlife Park.
Yeah, but here's a question for you. How do you get a rhino to travel from Germany to Doncaster? It sounds like a joke, doesn't it?
It's not.
It's not. And we're going to find out, because apparently you do it with bananas, as Keely Donovan's been finding out.
This is Najuma the black rhino at 2 weeks old. But 2 years on, she's almost outgrown her enclosure at Krefeld Zoo in Germany, and her mother needs the space as she's expecting a new baby rhino.
The mother will drive her away. She will start to hunt her, to attack her, because the next calf is on the way.
And that means she'll have to move from here in Germany to a new home here at the Yorkshire Wildlife Park near Doncaster. The space Najuma will have in her new home is many times greater than she has in Germany. The middle section will be her enclosure, all 3 acres of it. The hope is that one day she'll be sharing it with a calf of her own.
We want to make sure that she's comfortable and happy living next door to 2 males. And then in the future, when it comes to breeding in a year or 2, then we'll actually introduce her to Makibo, and hopefully we'll have a successful mating and some calves.
Meanwhile, back at Krefeld Zoo, Najuma is being trained to view the crate she'll be transported in as part of her enclosure.
You don't have to be scared, because there's a fence inside.
Is this her?
Yes, that's her.
Special treats are used to coax her in and make her feel comfortable here.
Often the black rhinos are a little bit nervous and can be aggressive, but the mother is very calm, and the children are this too.
She looks very calm indeed.
Yeah, you can touch the two.
Yeah?
You just have to come from here.
Shall I feed her one? Would that help?
Yeah, you can give her a banana.
The biggest threat to rhinos in the wild is humans, but it's hoped an international breeding programme, which Najuma and the Yorkshire Wildlife Park are part of, will help save this critically endangered species. Keely Donovan, BBC News, Krefeld in Germany.
What a beautiful, marvellous animals, and you can watch Najuma the rhino's journey across Europe on Inside Out in Yorkshire and Lincolnshire tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, or, of course, you can see it on the BBC iPlayer after that.
Yeah, more cute rhino pictures on the iPlayer. Now, if you're going to be up late tonight or early tomorrow morning, well, you could witness a pretty spectacular astronomical event. I think it's there.
Up there. Yep, the moon, the Earth and the sun will line up for a total lunar eclipse, resulting in what's known as a super blood moon. But it's the last one we'll see for a decade. So here to explain more is planetary scientist Sarah Crowther. Morning to you. And you've brought some really wonderful props with you as well.
I have.
So what, I mean, it does look absolutely spectacular. So what's going on to cause this phenomenon?
Well, there's 2 things going on at once, a supermoon and a lunar eclipse. So if we use our nice props, we've got a football to be the Earth, a tennis ball to be the moon, and let's pretend you two
are the sun.
So we're sending some sun rays this way, yeah.
So let's start with the supermoon. As the moon orbits around the Earth, it doesn't do it in quite a perfect circle. So sometimes it's a bit further away, and sometimes it's a little bit nearer.
Okay.
When it's a little bit nearer, it looks bigger and brighter in the sky, and that's what we call a supermoon. And then there's also the eclipse. So what happens in a lunar eclipse is that the moon is in the Earth's shadow.
Yes.
So the light from the sun can't be getting directly to the moon. Normally when we see the moon, it's because light from the sun is reflecting off it. But in the eclipse, it's in the shadow, so the light can't get directly there. A little bit of light does get there, but it has to sort of bounce around the Earth's atmosphere to get to the moon.
And that's what gives it the amazing red colour, doesn't it?
Yes. So as it bounces around the atmosphere, the different colours that make up the sunlight get split up in effect. And the bluer light bounces away and gets lost in into space somewhere, but the red light finds its way to the moon, and that's why it looks red.
Do you know, it's genuinely one of my favourite explanations ever. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And this doesn't happen very often, that the two happen at the same time.
Yeah, we get supermoons and we get eclipses, but it doesn't happen very often that the two happen at the same time.
And the next one is not for a long time, as
so
far as you know.
The next eclipse where we can see it in its entirety, so for the whole duration in the UK, I think it's at the end of 2029. There are some other eclipses between now and then, but we won't see the entire duration of them in the UK.
OK.
So when's a good time to go and see this? We said you might have to be up pretty early.
Yes. So the period of totality, so when it'll look red, is, depending on where you live, between about 4:45 and 4:45 tomorrow morning, with its maximum at about 5:15. But the eclipse starts when the moon first moves into the shadow of the Earth. That starts, I think it's about 2:30ish in the morning, and it'll be, I think it's perhaps sort of 7:45 when the moon completely comes out
so there's
of the
a long
shadow
time,
again.
we've just been talking to Helen, and there may be cloud in various areas, so that, but there's a long period of time in order to be able to see it.
There is, although it will only look red when it's right in the shadow between about 4:45 and 4:45.
So that is the real, that's when you really want to be 4:45 and 4:45.
Yeah, ish.
Give us a sense of sort of how exciting this is, given what you do and how rare these things can be to coincide and happen at the same time. It's worth getting up for, worth having a look at.
If it's clear, I think that's going to be the big thing. Is it going to be clear or not? If it's cloudy, stay in bed.
And we don't need to see it with binoculars or
no,
anything?
No, not at all. You can look at it. You'll be able to see it with the naked eye, just so you can see a full moon anyway. And unlike a solar eclipse, you don't need any special equipment. You can just look at it.
OK. And you will be up to watch anyway, will you?
If it's clear.
If it's clear. You've got to wake up to know it's clear.
Peek out the curtain, just have a look and then decide whether you're going to commit to it, I think.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much indeed for such brilliant props as well. I think
Thank
last
you.
time we had an orange and I don't know what we had. Anyway, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. And let's hope that, fingers crossed, at least some of us manage to see that tomorrow, because it looks like it's going to be spectacular.
Now, you're going to be back tomorrow with Dan.
Yep, I'm not going to wear my supermoon dress either tomorrow.
But very appropriate. Well done on your choice today. Accidental choice today.
It was indeed. Have a lovely day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you soon.
This is BBC News. I'm Ben Brown. The headlines at 9. Theresa May will brief ministers on her cross-party talks later. Downing Street is warning MPs not to block Brexit. Police say they have spoken to the Duke of Edinburgh after he was seen driving without a seatbelt 48 hours after being involved in a crash near Sandringham. Democrats reject President Trump's latest offer to end the longest government shutdown in US history.
I am here today to break the logjam and provide Congress with a path forward to end the government shutdown and solve the crisis on the southern border.
A bomb explodes in a car outside a courthouse in Londonderry. Police say no one was injured in last night's blast. And we have our Sunday morning edition of the papers coming up at 9:35. Reviewing them today, the political commentator James Miller and the Evening Standard's defence editor Robert Fox. Hello, very good morning to you. Theresa May is expected to hold a conference call with her cabinet ministers this afternoon as she prepares to outline her next steps to break the Brexit deadlock. The Prime Minister's seeking consensus on her deal to leave the European Union, as some backbench MPs look at ways to seize control of Brexit legislation and to prevent the UK leaving without a deal. Well, tomorrow looks like it's going to be another big day in the Commons on Brexit, with Mrs May making a statement in the Commons outlining the next steps that the government plans to take. Then, on January the 29th, there'll be another Commons vote on the Prime Minister's Brexit plan. And the UK is due to leave the European Union on March the 29th, in accordance with Article 50, although amendments are being put forward seeking to extend or suspend that process. Well, let's get the very latest then from our political correspondent Nick Eardley, who joins me now. So, Nick, the Prime Minister's been having these cross-party talks for a number of days now. Is there any sign of any progress?
Nothing that would move us considerably beyond the position we're in just now. Various people who have taken part in those talks have said they think the Prime Minister is in listening mode. What's not clear yet is whether listening is going to lead to some sort of change that ends the logjam that we've been speaking about in Parliament for so long now. There are various people saying the Prime Minister needs to lift her red lines. At the moment, it doesn't seem that she wants to do that, partly because she's got to balance her own party as much as balancing Parliament. This afternoon she will update her ministers in a conference call on what has happened so far. The talks will continue over the next few days. But what we're seeing at the same time is an increasing number of MPs really worried about the idea that there isn't going to be a solution to this on time. And that's why we're hearing a lot in the papers this morning and from various politicians putting forward amendments to the Prime Minister's plan, saying we need to think about extending the date at which we have to leave, or potentially even revoking it completely.
And does it look like those MPs could do that, as effectively stop a no-deal Brexit?
Well, the idea being put forward by some Labour MPs, including Yvette Cooper, is that if there is no deal in place by the end of February, then the UK goes to Europe and says, we want to extend Article 50. We need a bit more time to discuss this a bit further. The basic idea is you rule out the prospect of a no-deal Brexit, leaving the European Union with no future arrangements in place. Now, I think there probably is a majority in the House of Commons opposed to a no-deal Brexit. Quite whether they get on board with this mechanism for doing it remains to be seen. There is another parallel process. A lot of this is about process, but it is important, so bear with me. The second is Dominic Grieve, the former Attorney General, who wants to say maybe we need to suspend Article 50 completely at the moment and revisit where we're at just now. The Prime Minister and Downing Street think that is a bad idea. They are worried that it takes control away from the government and puts it into the hands of MPs. But we're in that place, Ben, where there is so much concern in Parliament about the lack of progress that some MPs feel they need to try and take control.
And broadly,